sorry.
As you may recall, Richard and I worked together on doing what we're calling the Big Building Decarbonization Survey. And we had a bunch of students from the college do interviews with roughly 35 business owners, people who either own or operate large buildings in Addison County. And we got some somewhat interesting results, but I don't feel like, and we discovered that people are kind of interested in saving the planet, but that's not their prime motivator. Like, it's money, and that some of the blockers are some of the blockers are money, but some of the blockers are just lack of good information and not having time to do the research. But I'm concerned that the sample was tiny, it's 35 folks. So I'm thinking about restarting it again. So we have a good instrument, we have a good kind of baseline set of data. And I've been talking with the Addison County Economic Development Corporation, who helped provide us with some of the names to reach out that they're willing to allow us to put a piece in their newsletter to allow people, rather than doing interviews, we would just do an online survey. So I'm thinking like the next step would be to just do an online survey and see what we can get. It removes a lot of the friction of having to schedule a time and have somebody come in and all of that. But I didn't, because we had worked on this together, I didn't want to kind of presume. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there as what I see as the next step, is to switch from this interview mode to the online survey mode.
Would this survey maybe give people an opportunity to say at some point or at the end, I would like to sit down and talk?
It actually, the survey, it does, as it exists now, it has two questions about, would you like somebody from SEAC to follow up with you? And it also has, would you be interested in having conversation with your peers, other people that are doing the same thing? And it turns out that many people were interested / willing to have SEAC call them again to follow up, but more people were actually interested in having these kinds of conversations amongst themselves. And the Addison County Economic Development Corporation used to have a kind of forum for property managers to get together, and they'd come in and talk about OSHA or elevators or you know, and so I've been talking with them, and they seem willing to restart that and to inject a kind of climate theme into that. So one of the kind of obvious outcomes of this process could be to let people know that we're now going to have every other month a meeting where people can get together and hear stories about how what people are learning as they go across this journey.
Nice. Yeah, that's great.
So any objections to moving ahead with an online survey format? And
none whatsoever.
okay, so I will keep up with that, and then I can come back with some results. Hopefully, I mean, I think the results right now are kind of skewed because it's like early adopters and proponents are people who would likely raise their hand, and I don't think we're getting the you know, climate deniers and the laggards. We're probably like, I don't even want to have some college kid come and, you know, ask me questions that I'll be embarrassed to answer. So we'll see.
Or don't have time for something that doesn't matter.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, no, that sounds good.
Okay, so that's great. Thank you. And then the second thing I wanted to talk with you about is this program. I think Maddie Shropshire and Jean Terwilliger talked a little bit about it at that meeting that we had in this building earlier in the winter. So it's this thing called the Addison County Energy Navigator. And we've been going door to door to all the towns in Addison County that all got $4,000 MERP grants and trying to see if they're willing to contribute their some or all of their MERP money. So the end of this presentation, I will ask you where you're at with that.
It's on the agenda. Actually, we have a proposal.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's also the case that I'm probably less interested in the $4,000 or some part thereof, and more interested in thinking about how some of your members might want to engage with this and take advantage of this program as a way to accomplish some of your goals that you might have around outreach and about getting people to learn more and do more in terms of decarbonizing and electrifying. So the basic format That's kind of funny. I'm not sure why that little
Either.
aider is still there, but we're gonna let that be. Basic format is that there's a person, we're calling them a client instead of calling them a homeowner, because we're also trying to think about renters as well. So we're kind of struggling. I guess we could call them neighbors. We're still trying to figure out what to call them. And then there's a navigator who's also, you could call them a coach. Lots of programs call them energy coaches. And the thought is that a person who is thinking about decarbonizing and electrifying has a whole bunch of things that they need to learn about. They need to learn and things that they need to do. And so we've got this platform that we've licensed from this organization in Massachusetts called Mass Energize. And they allow you to create kind of info sheets and step-by-step instructions for energy audits, weatherization, heat pump, water heaters, solar, and EV. And we've chosen those as kind of the most high impact activity. So we didn't put in composting or pollinator pathways. Those are great, but they're not really moving the dial.
Right.
So we've decided like we're just going to focus on the things that actually make a big difference. And then in order to do any of those things, you need contractors. And so we're sorting out a way to provide recommendations to people that are trying to do this, to say like, here are 5 or 6 people that you might call. And so you would need auditors and weatherizers and plumbers and electricians and solar installers. And so we're looking at the Efficiency Vermont list. It's a little overwhelming. And it turns out that from what I'm told from people who've worked with it is that, you know, they're not all great. And then it's also the case that there are people who are great and are so busy that they're like, I'm not going to bother getting myself listed. So we're still sorting out how to handle the question of contractors. And then we're also thinking about how do you pay for this? And so there's guides out there already about low interest loans and rebates and tax incentives and on-bill financing. And so we'll have a nice little easy way for people to understand, like, what are the different ways I might pay for this? And a lot of this is really about kind of curating information that already exists. So we're not necessarily going to write anything original, but just finding the best, most reliable sources and making it available. And then the other piece to this, there we go, is thinking about our outreach. And so how do we get people to get involved in the program and sign up to get help from a navigator? So we're looking at Facebook and Instagram and Front Porch Forum, physical postcards, lawn signs, going to farmers markets, places of worship, festivals, neighbor to neighbor conversations, doing displays or events at the library. And so part of my thought is that Bristol is in Addison County. Many of these things happen in Bristol as well. And so is there a way, as you're trying to think about outreach to your communities, are there ways that you can leverage some of the work that we're doing in terms of the documentation and the software and the guides and the services, so that, and just helping the people of Bristol be aware of what we're trying to do. And then the kind of ask here in terms of work is also thinking about all of this, there's work that needs to be done in terms of curating and writing, thinking about action guides, testimonials, vendor outreach, writing these finance guides, providing these volunteer navigation services. So we're not ready to take on any of these folks yet. And my hope is that as we get clearer about what that will look like, and we can boil things down into pretty manageable volunteer opportunities, that I have in my mind, it'd be interesting to hear from actual members of energy committees. This seems like something a person who signs up to be on an energy committee might actually want to do. Like this would be a way to meaningfully engage in the community and help people decarbonize and electrify. And so we're hoping to distill it into a package. So you could say, like, would you sign up to do this for a couple of years? We'll train you, we'll support you. It'll take, X number of hours a week. And then, and when you're done, you can say, like, we won't pester you. You'll just do your service and move on. So the whole system then looks a bit like this. So we've got a whole bunch of pink people. I designed this So I apologize. We're gonna get somebody that actually knows something about graphic design to make it look better. So this is like very early days. This is less than 24 hours old. So apologies for the horrible
I
graphics.
can see it's still wet.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to use this outreach that then drives people to go to, and so then this tries to present, multiple navigators, multiple clients, all using that information. And then the purple people are the folks that are like creating, if you look at the little gray documents, that's the meat of the information that we need to gather. And so there's a way that we can have folks helping us create all of that information. And so the idea is then that there will be lots of these, and then there'll be even more, and then there'll be even more of these. So there are 35,000 people that live in Addison County, and for Vermont to hit the kind of climate plan goals that it's set, we need to get everybody or nearly everybody to do something and to start thinking about weatherization, thinking about heat pumps, thinking about getting off of fossil fuels. And so our hope is that this program can be one of many ways that we can get folks to, and the sense is that people make decisions more from people they trust and they know. And so doing it at a very hyper local level seems really important.
Yeah, that's great.
And so these are the towns that we've gone to door so far. So we've gotten Moncton, Panton, Waltham, Weybridge, Cornwall, Shoreham, Leicester, and Middlebury have all agreed to be part of this so far. And so if I were a salesperson, I'd say we'd really love to get Bristol on the list. But I'm not a salesperson. And I honestly, it's not the money, it's really just awareness of what we're doing, helping us find this as we go. And if it's helpful to you and your goals as a committee, I think this, I'm on the Middlebury Energy Committee. They think this is like, we've never gotten very far in terms of outreach. And they can see that this is a way for us to actually start doing something.
Absolutely.
And part of the idea is that we can all do it together and we're going to learn from each other, and we can share the expenses of creating the materials and maintaining the materials. And so that's what I got.
I think it's important because right now people are shotgunning their applications, not necessarily doing them in an order that makes sense.
Yeah, they
People I
get
know in
solar
Bristol-
before they weatherize.
Yeah, exactly, or heat pumps before you weather, seriously. And they just don't know. It's not like replacing a furnace. I mean, we have a lot of experience with that in an old house with heat pumps, so. Yeah, I think it's really good. I mean, one of our goals, according to even the, what is it, the EAN Navigator, that comes up, is to reach out into the community and educate.
Right.
I wonder about the term clients. Would that make people think they're gonna have to pay?
I don't think we're gonna use this is for like inside baseball, like talking to you
Okay.
all. So this is not something that we would use. This is not the language we're gonna use when we're talking to civilians. This is just, and again, I struggled with what the right word was because I didn't want to use homeowner because it feels important to not, to be inclusive. I guess you could say resident. Were you coming at the same? Yeah, resident. Yeah.
I think resident makes the most sense.
Because then it covers renters too, maybe.
Yep, exactly.
Well, I certainly think we ought to be all in on this.
Yeah.
What do you think, Sally?
I was just thinking about our experience with Button Up for a number of years. We did this kind of thing as well as we could, with the help of Matt Sharp and people like that giving a workshop. And we just needed to pull the people together and have Matt Sharp give the workshop and then see who'd sign up, and people signed up for a walkthrough, that kind of thing. But there were problems with it. It didn't always work well. And the hardest part was getting the contractors. So we've kind of been down this road a bit with actually a lot of help from Efficiency Vermont. And it was still really hard to get people to sign on to things. So Honestly, the idea of working with a whole bunch of materials and trying to get it to people and have them really want to do it. I'm just used to people not really wanting to do it. So it's hard to imagine how well it can work and how we can do it, you know, how we can get people on board. That was the thing, is trying to
Yeah, I
get,
think that's what the outreach part, I mean, that's the piece. So having all the, you know, the notion of building a website is gonna go nowhere like that. It's easy enough to build a website, but it doesn't, nobody will use it if you don't tell them about it and why it matters. And so there's a lot of the emphasis has to be on this outreach, and Mass Energize has been doing this, they're a couple of years ahead of us. So we've been able to, we can learn a lot from talking with them about what has and hasn't worked in terms of outreach campaigns. And then there's,
Right.
I've been in conversation with this folks in Oregon who are trying to create a kind of national network of grassroots climate organizations doing this kind of work. And so that the hope is that we'll build a community of folks that are trying to do this kind of outreach, and learn from each other and support each other as well. So it's, you know, it's within Addison County, but also thinking about it within Vermont, within New England, and then also thinking more broadly, because this is happening in hundreds and hundreds of communities all over the country. And so there's no reason to try and do it like as if nobody else has ever done it before.
And I know my experience trying to get information that makes sense to me, regarding the whole range of things here. It's a morass out there. It really is. And so something that was pulled together, I think Efficiency Vermont stuff is very useful. And I use it when talking to people or promoting something. At my church, we do a lot of energy stuff. And yeah, it's that thing of you lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
That's right.
That's part of it too. So, but I think working together and getting people's experience makes a lot of sense.
I do think there's one of the, I mean, Sally, just to your point about like, this hasn't always worked in the past. You didn't have like billions of dollars of the IRA in your back pocket, because there's just the incentives that are coming out right now really make this a lot easier to get people behind it, because you don't even have to talk about save the planet. It's save money and be more comfortable.
Right. Right.
And, you know, saving the planet just is a nice, you know, co-benefit.
yeah, that's great. It is many years down the road since we were trying. And
I also feel like,
yeah,
it
and
feels
we
to
were
me like
succeeding a
people-
little bit, but, oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
You're on.
Oh, I just think it feels like things have become a little more urgent as well. Like if you read polls about people's thoughts about climate change, it's top of mind way more than it was even 2 or 3 years ago.
You're saying the Yale Climate Connections.
Yeah.
People are turning around, and enough people are turning around. We're not gonna get to everybody.
No.
So we get to the ones who are convinced and the ones who are convincible.
Right.
Yeah. But I think you're absolutely right on the money where it's, for a lot of people, it's economics. And so let's leverage that. And a lot of people are unaware. Some people think they make too much money for the rebates. And I have to explain to them, no, everyone gets the rebate, doesn't matter.
Yep.
A lot of them are unaware. So I think there's a big role for a navigator and a volunteer navigator to walk people through what's available to them, and the options, and to emphasize weatherization first.
Yeah. And to follow up. Part of it is just sort of having a system that you meet with somebody, they say, yeah, let me think about it. And then you get back to them like, oh, what'd you decide?
Right.
Okay, what'd you plan? What are you gonna do? Okay, and then 3 months later, how'd it go?
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
damn, I forgot to do that, but I'll do it right now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And Sally did mention one thing that I think is going to be an ongoing problem, and that is the availability of contractors.
That was our
because
biggest.
Our button up, we had people, that one event, we had a lot of people in Holly Hall, and we had contractors and people were signing up, and then there just wasn't anybody available.
Did you-
Not enough.
Did you read the piece in the New York Times about Maine being all gaga over heat pumps?
Yes,
So heat pumps have like gone through the roof in Maine. It's just, it's like, it's the highest adoption rate of any state in the union.
Hmm.
And there was a profile of this local heat pump. It's actually started as an oil company, oil and gas, and installed, like they just installed boilers. And they installed 3,000 heat pumps last year.
Wow.
yeah,
So I went on their website and just looked it up. I'm actually gonna call the guy and say like, how'd you do that? It's actually like, if you only work 5 days a week, it's like 11 heat pumps a day. It's 3 heat pumps a day.
Good God.
I mean, it's remarkable. And
Wow.
I looked at, and they have a staff listing and there's 22 of them. That's how big their staff is.
Jeez, that's big.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's not that big if you think about 3,000 heat pumps in a year. It's like those 22 people are putting in 3 a day.
Yeah, I saw the headlines. Do you remember the name of the company?
I have it in my notes, yeah. See if I can find it.
I lived in Maine for a long time.
It's always distressed me a little bit that the IRA money has a focus on heat pumps and a little bit of emphasis on weatherization and not nearly enough, in my humble opinion.
Yeah,
But anyways, take what we can get.
Josh Tucker, Valley Home Services.
oh, yeah.
And this is their, this is how they portray themselves.
Cool.
But they're still doing nothing but installing heat pumps.
That's crazy. Wow.
So I was gonna call them up and say, hey, why don't you start an office in Addison County?
Well, I gotta
There's
wonder
plenty of business.
if they reach a critical mass where neighbors see neighbors putting in heat pumps and it helps. It's almost like peer pressure or normalization.
Well, that's what these lawn signs are about,
Yeah.
to say like, I just put in a heat pump.
Yeah.
I mean, the solar companies do that too. They always put up a sign to say, I just got solar, come talk to me about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think, or even once, for those of us who had had stuff for quite a while, we heat with heat pumps and so on. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Maybe instead of having them come here, I wonder if we could have people like Champlain and Jackman's,
yeah, go out there and talk to them. That's
yeah,
right.
have a field trip or something.
Send them on a junket.
Yeah.
I give them
up in-
enough money, they ought to be able to afford it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to have our local
Yeah,
people realize the bonanza that there could be.
maybe
I
I'll
think
send them
some
that
of them
article.
are. I
I'll
think
send them that article.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think
Well-
that's a good idea.
This sounds better than trying to, get a contractor to do the whole weatherization thing for people. I think this, like you're saying, heat pump installation, if you can get the installers, that's a really good idea, because people are wanting more cooling as well these days.
That's really true.
Yeah.
A lot of people I talk to, friends of mine, use the heat pumps. This last summer was terrible.
Yeah.
And really appreciated having them.
So my question, so I have two proposals. So the first proposal is, if you'll have me, as we get clearer about like what these roles would be and how we could work together to kind of build awareness of this, because it's intended for all of Addison County within Bristol, that'd be great. So I can come back again. And then if you can, if you haven't spent all your MERP money yet and we've gotten, like I said, we've gotten a certain number of towns to contribute. We just got a nice grant from V-Light, which is a Vermont foundation. They gave us $60,000. We're about to get some money from the Department of Energy through the MERP program that they've got as the Regional Planning Commission is basically re-granting some DOE money. So we're gonna get probably another 35 or 40 from that. So we don't necessarily need the money, but any money we can get will help, because it just allows us to do all the more.
So I learned, much to my surprise and other people's, that the town had not applied for one of the mini grants.
Huh,
And so I've got a proposal that essentially to go to the select board based on what our team here says tonight. They would award 2,000 of the 4,000 to SEAC
Great.
for the Navigator
Oh,
program.
fabulous. That's great.
And I would like, and we'll see how everybody feels, to have 2,000 of that go into a fund to assist our energy committee in essentially all the public relations stuff we need to do, meetings and things like that we take out of our own pockets over the years.
Yeah.
And also set up an agency account that we don't have, so that we can actually apply for grants and put that into a fund that will continue from year to year. So that's all part of the proposal. Also, I've taken your Middlebury bylaws for the energy committee
Oh, all right.
and I cut and pasted, and that's on the agenda tonight.
That's
So,
great. Love it.
Yeah, so thank you for that.
Yeah, yeah, happy to help.
Yeah,
So that's all I got.
Okay.
So when we're ready, I'll be back in touch to say, like, I'd love to, if you'll have me to just talk about
yeah,
how far we've gotten and where we want to go
Yeah,
and how
absolutely.
we can shape that. And if you do agree to give us the $2,000, we have an agreement letter that we worked out with Middlebury, and we can just change the name to Bristol, and then your lawyers can tell us that it's all wrong and we have to change everything, and then we'll do that.
I wonder if you ought to send that to me.
Yeah, I can send you a copy of it, yeah.
And when we go to the select board, we have an example. Go ahead and change it to Bristol and.
Yeah, of course,
Yeah.
of course. I was joking.
Yeah, this definitely strikes me as a strength in numbers type of thing.
Yeah, I think it'll be fun because we'll learn from each other, and this is kind of lonely work sometimes, so it's nice to
Can be.
talk to other people.
No doubt.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks so much, Mike.
thank you,
Appreciate it.
thank you for having
Thanks,
me.
Mike.
Good to see you.
Okay, did I get home safely?
Yeah.
The roads
Yeah.
weren't bad.
No,
Safe
that's
driving.
fine. Yeah,
What happened on Monday night was visibility. I was down to 25 miles an
gosh.
hour and scared to death.
Yikes.
And I lived in Buffalo for 26 years. And they were big flakes and they just reflected my headlights right back to me.
yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
It was scary.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Great to
Thanks,
see
Mike.
you. Okay, we'll talk again soon.
All right. I just, real quick question, Sally. If I remember correctly, you've agreed to re-up for 2 years or 3?
I said either one, and so I didn't know if you were trying to, what do you call, stagger our terms, so I just wanted to give that option so you could stagger the terms.
Got it. And we don't know John McCormick.
I have a feeling he's not gonna
Yeah,
go for it.
I'm guessing that.
I'll email him.
Yeah,
Okay. Update on EV chargers?
okay, real quick. Ian and two gentlemen from Drive Electric Vermont, whose names have already blown off, met today and walked all over Bristol in the delicious snow squall this morning. We spent about an hour and a half, and the goal of that was to get their advice about the locations that we were thinking about. And as we did it, Ian, I, and Tom and Dan realized that, first of all, we're gonna have to get the select board to make a decision on location for both the level 2s and the level 3s. Ian's working on Parmelo to see if there's any chance that they would allow a level 3 in their parking lot. And the prime location from the standpoint of available electricity and maybe even accessibility across from the back of the Bank of Middlebury. there's that little island with a telephone pole in it
Yes.
where you drive through, which makes no sense since you can drive around.
Uh,
They said it would really be a good spot to have a pull-in for level threes. Accessible to three-phase power. And from the Parmelo standpoint, if they would agree to that, that would probably be one of the really prime locations. Also, be able to protect them from snowplows that way. Other locations we looked at were Mountain Green, on the west side of the Mountain Green buildings, where that walk comes through into the parking lot. The problem with that is if you're doing that, it's beginning to get a little bit far away, a little bit of a problem at night. And also, there's a lot of garbage and trash around from Shaw's that people would have to walk through. So-
I already checked out that spot. That was one of the spots I looked at, and I talked with Carol Wells and all that. And they decided not to do it because of the cost of installing it, but maybe it would be, that would be covered in some other way in this.
I think it would be, Ian has been talking to them, and they're very open to some ideas.
Okay.
But, I don't think that's a prime spot. As Dan said today, our kind of best possible spot in his mind was either there, this little island, or we're back to the park, down now toward town, possibly 2 level 2s and 2 level 3s. From the standpoint of visibility, access, and all kinds of things, it's a possibility. A little bit of a problem with distance between the curb and the sidewalk to locate. The other one is kind of interesting. On the other side of the park, all the way to the west end, right where the sidewalk comes in at the diagonal.
Okay.
That there's power there across the street. And the thought is that satisfies handicap accessibility because you're right on the same level, parking lot, road, and walk.
Okay.
So
Where's that spot exactly?
the west end of the park.
Yep.
In the back, across from the rec, across from the old high school or
Yeah.
school building.
So right by the playground.
Yeah,
And on against the park or against the old school?
against the park.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and of course, there are the problems that, there are some informal restrictions about anything on the park, so we don't know how the select board will respond to that, but from, a lot of aspects, that's really a pretty interesting one. My choice, would be 4 spaces at the, east end of the park on Main Street.
I just want to speak to that a little bit. You mean closest to the traffic light?
Yep,
I think that the people who work at the town hall park there and they do not want electric vehicle stations there. That's one. The other is it's really tricky to back out of that spot because you're backing into the intersection.
not at the exact end, I mean, a few spaces
Okay.
in, yeah.
Yeah,
I guess I would say to the town people, give me a break, move up a couple spaces,
why is it that we can't move down a couple spaces westward?
Well, the problem might be resistance to having these ports closer and closer to the gazebo.
Okay, I see what you mean. So
That's,
aesthetics.
Yeah, which might kill the whole thing anyway. I mean, it's really difficult. Bristol does not have a really good location when you really start to try to figure it out. Unless a private property owner would host it, like Carmelo, or it'd be great in the back of the post office. But apparently that's off the table, or the bank of, whatever that other bank is, across from the park.
Community bank.
Yeah,
Someone was talking about the possibility of doing it in the gas station right there, like seeing if they wanted to have it in the back there a little bit, like pull into the gas station and be kind of alongside the post office. What's that like?
Champlain Farms there?
Yeah, Champlain Farms. Would Champlain Farms think that that's good? They'd get a little business, or think they'd want it? It's never all full with cars.
yeah, it's awfully chaotic there. I pull in once
But
in a while.
if you pull in though and go toward the back and plug in back there, so it's the machine is away from the view, but enough that you have some sort of a thing that says.
No, that's a thought. Okay. Yeah, so we'll look into that.
I mean, it would be a place that wasn't messing up something that looked great, you know?
Yep.
Not that Champlain Farms doesn't look great.
Well, I mean, but it's a gas station and parking lot. It's not a park.
Fair
Well, it
enough.
makes a lot of sense for, a car service area to do this in some ways. But anyway, okay, we'll look into that. I mean, you can see the problem we have. This has been going on for at least 5 years. Trying to find the space, trying to find money, and Ian is frustrated as the devil. He said, we have been trying on this, so we'll keep going.
Okay, thank you for
Okay.
working on that.
Yep.
And your perseverance. Most of all.
Yeah, it's
My
perseverance.
goodness. Update on Merck.
Nothing,
Okay,
that's easy.
moving on.
Number 7 died.
Okay. How did it die?
Basically, let's see, the bylaws issue. It was suggested that we create a set of bylaws to clarify our role.
Okay.
And the select board apparently discussed at the next meeting. And they agreed that it really wasn't appropriate to refer it to us in that manner. So it just kind of went away.
Okie dokie. All right then. This is important, the Asset County Regional Planning Commission survey. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. We should be talking about the bylaws, yes? Let's skip right
Yeah, I
by that.
sent them out. I don't know how much you want to discuss them. It's up to you. I patterned them after the Middlebury bylaws, but simplified them, obviously, because we're Bristol and not Middlebury.
Right. Yeah. Honestly, they seemed fine to me. Being a former high school teacher, I made some corrections in spelling, which I
There was,
apologize for.
okay, yeah, did you send that to me?
I made the change on the document. Maybe they didn't show
Okay,
up.
I mean, yeah, I don't think they did.
Okay, or I made a suggestion on the document.
Okay,
But I'll go over it again.
okay.
Did you say that it wasn't appropriate to have it anyway? So the bylaws? You say the town of Bristol said that? So or are we talking about two different things?
Well, I think you were saying that it was not the request for us to look into bringing the VGS pipeline into Bristol. That request was not made in an appropriate way.
Right,
Is that
right. The select board decided that it was
Oh, yeah.
not appropriate to ask us to do that.
Oh, okay, I see, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I thought
And
that's,
at that meeting, Ian, after that meeting, Ian said, work up a set of bylaws, essentially to more clearly define our role and mission and so on.
Yeah.
And so even though there is a mission statement in the town plan, the purpose of this is to get much more specific. So Mike sent me the Middlebury bylaws because I'm on the Energy Committee of the Planning Commission, and Cheryl said Virgins had just used them to start a set of bylaws for their Energy Committee, and found Middlebury's really helpful.
Excellent.
Okay. Yeah, I
So
think,
these would be presented to the select board.
Do you know a date on that? No. All right. When you've gotten enough feedback.
I was thinking that they seemed good, but maybe a little bit too complex in a couple of little areas, but maybe.
So, we're not under the gun to do it tomorrow, so.
Okay, I'll check it out again.
I would say, take a copy and, make changes and then send it back to me.
Okay,
Maybe outline stuff in red.
okay. I think I might have ended up thinking, oh, whatever, it's fine. But I remember at some point I had some feelings like, anyway, I'll look at it again just to make sure.
Okay,
Thanks.
yeah, definitely. It's not frozen yet.
And I'm sorry, I'm gonna actually bounce back to Mike Roy. My understanding, maybe wrong, is that he was looking for us as a committee to give him the go-ahead or not in joining the program. And I think we need to put that to a vote. do we not? Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the three of us, and Ben is with us, correct, Ben?
Yes, hello.
There, okay, good.
And
Awesome. So
I
we
snuck in.
have a quorum, do we not?
yeah,
Okay. Who is in favor of the Bristol Energy Committee joining in on the Middlebury Navigator SEAC program?
SEAC Navigator.
SEAC Navigator, thank you. Yeah. All in favor?
Yeah.
All right.
I guess
Anyone? Go ahead, Sally.
I think we could go ahead. We can go ahead. I just, don't want it to get too complex, and it can get that way sometimes. But
I think
I'll go with it. I'll go
Okay.
with it.
Got it.
This is kind of the exploratory phase. I think we can bail out anytime it gets too onerous.
Sally, are you feeling like it's taking on one more thing that we don't have room on our plates for, or?
That's part of it. I think the more cumbersome the project gets and all, it just, I don't know, it can sometimes get overwhelming, but maybe if we could do it our personal way, maybe the way we connect with people or something, if it seems like it's just too bureaucratic or something, we could do it our own way where, but.
Yeah,
Got it.
I
We
mean,
will
I
have-
also was on SEAC for a number of years, and sometimes just, it wasn't as straightforward to me. Sometimes it was like, build a huge thing that on paper and everything, and then we'll roll it out. And then it's like, come on, just person to person, let's get down to basics. So that's my background with that. And I ended up, I left and Mike took my place on that board. But I think they do really good work, but sometimes there's just too much conceptualizing and creating a huge thing to me. So that's where I get a little stuck with.
So almost too much process, not enough product?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's probably a fair assessment.
So I'm not sure how do we really want to sign on? Are we sure we want to sign on? It seems like, can we do a test run?
Well, I don't think we're signing on. I think we're just inviting him to come back once he has more information.
Yeah.
Because he didn't present anything firm.
He
Right,
asked
there
us to
was-
commit though, I think, sort of.
And the request for $2,000.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we bring that to the select board, I
Mhm.
assume.
Mhm.
Okay. So are we gonna bring that to the select board?
Well, that's, when we get to that, that's a question, yeah.
Okay. So that's upcoming. Okay. Sally, I am very product driven as well. I understand the need for process. I also get impatient with too much process and not enough product. So you and I can, all three of us can triple team on that
Yeah.
and push for product.
Yeah.
Done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you, everyone, for that. Aspen County Replanning Commission survey, which is due tomorrow. And did you want to take this, Richard? It was kind of your baby.
The survey came out and I got a message from Val to go ahead and fill it out, and I suggested that, let's see, I filled it out and then I talked again to Val, and she said, wouldn't it be neat if we requested funding for the new town garage as a net zero building?
Yeah.
The problem is the fact that I filled it out, and I'm trying, God, this is awful, I'm trying to remember what I asked for. It'll come to me. I can't go back in. The survey won't let me revise it, so right away, she or Ian said, get somebody else on the committee to enter into the survey and ask for the net zero town garage. Now, we've got 2 other bullet points, and so I think we have to decide tonight. Do we want to do that? Would one of you want to go on the survey and request one of these things? And which one makes the most sense? And I'm kind of neutral on it.
Is it, I don't know the answer to this. Is it unethical for Sally to do a survey and take one of these
No.
bullet points? And me to do a survey and I take another bullet point, and Ben to do a survey and he takes another bullet point?
I read that survey and I did that survey myself, and they said you can do, more than one, you can put down more people than
Yeah.
one. It sounded
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
I don't think that is anything. And I've already done it, and, I can't remember exactly what I put on there. It's really sad. But I think I wrote 2 things because they said more can be done. So I think I wrote thermal energy networks, and I might have said something about that garage, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's really awful. I've spaced on it. But, okay, if that's the case,
And I tried to
I
go
was-
back in and do another, and it wouldn't let me.
yeah.
Okay,
So I think, in that case, if Ben's willing to do one and you're willing to do one,
I'm waiting for, Ben, would you be willing to do the town garage one? And basically all the information you need is
Yes.
right on the agenda.
Got
That'd
it.
be great.
Yep, I can do that.
That'd be
And what
great.
do they actually call it rather than town garage? There's a different name that they're calling it in town here. right?
Yeah, what is it like? Oh, it was in Val's email, right?
Yes, yeah, it is.
Department of Public Works.
Thank you, Jim. Department
there
of
you go.
Public Works. That's the
Jim
one.
saves the
That's
day.
very formal. Jim coming in as usual, saving the
Great.
bacon. I love it.
perfect.
Department of Public Works building. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll use that. I'll use that language.
There we go. Excellent. Thank you, Ben. I'm waiting for a quote, just an off the cuff, back of the envelope, total estimate quote for solar panels for the high school and or elementary school from a colleague at Building Energies. So once I have that, I will, that'll be my item. I talked to Matt Sharp about trying to get an estimate for the trench ground source heat pump for the elementary school, and it's too many moving parts to make any kind of real estimate, so that's really off the table. But I'll do the
So
solar
that's
panels.
massive.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
okay, that sounds good.
excellent, thank you. All right, we are doing great. Update geothermal system for Bristol schools. I got some data from Floyd Davison about fuel use. I just need to sit down and crunch the numbers. So hold tight for that. And upon reflection, I don't know why I put the town plan in here. Was there something someone was gonna do with the town plan?
I just sent it out, so people could look at it,
Okay,
you know, and reference it in terms of, the possible bylaws.
I agree with that,
Stuff.
Richard. I saw in the bylaws there was, you know, the use of like decarbonization and reducing greenhouse gases, and that language wasn't, I could not find that language on the Bristol website, just with the talking about why the Bristol Energy Committee was established. So I was a little hesitant to like kind of like, I started to read the bylaws and was thinking about it a little bit, but I think when I looked at the town plan, all that language is in there, and so I feel like, okay, this is how we can clarify, because if you're just going off of what's on the town website, what's in the bylaws that we're proposing is a lot more in depth and detailed, and I think it's much better to have the town plan and the enhanced energy plan as well as a sort of companion to that, and that really clarifies everything. So I think
Yeah.
it's good that that was linked, because it helped me understand it a lot better. So.
Good.
And
Yeah.
the enhanced energy plan was the latest thing that the town agreed on. All together, the select board, everyone.
Right.
And that's probably gonna be up for review in another year. So maybe, they're going slowly, apparently, the Regional Planning Commission said, so maybe we'll be off the hook for a while, but
okay, all right. Yeah, I had the same experience, Ben, of it really helped clarify, no doubt.
Jim has a question.
Not a question, but you guys should look at the meeting of the planning commission, last night's meeting on Meet TV, because I think they discussed some of the things you're talking about to do with climate and energy as some of their upcoming things they want to discuss. So
Okay.
okay,
check it out
good.
on the site.
Got it.
Yeah,
Thanks, Jim. Will
Yeah.
do.
yeah, that's very important. Thank you.
Okay, thermal energy network. And someone
Okay.
threw that. Was that yours, Sally?
Yeah, the thing that is at the end, I just had written that directly to you as an email, and you put it down there, right
Okay,
there.
was that a mistake on my part, or?
No, it's fine. It was basically a question, I guess, but it's totally fine. You put it in there. I'll explain it now.
Yep,
So Debbie New and Jim Dumont and Ian Albinson and I got together to talk about the possibilities of thermal energy networks in Bristol, like what would make sense, how would we go forth in exploring it more, and who would want to be involved. And so Debbie said she would come to the energy committee and do an intro for us if we want, and then we could invite other people to come to it, like maybe Jill from VTUMS if it seemed like a good time for that, or things like that. But then today I talked with Debbie and she said, well, first let's just talk, we shouldn't just decide what should go there. What does the energy committee want as far as how much does the whole committee want to have an intro on thermal energy networks? Both Richard and I have been learning about it a lot for the last few years, so we have an intro, but I don't know what the rest of the committee, and is it now just supposed to be me going forth and doing whatever? But I don't know, we're gonna maybe have are we gonna have discussions for the energy committee to make decisions on this stuff? So is that why everyone should know about it? Or is it just, I'm an energy committee member, I'm working on it with some group? I don't know, what kind of questions do you all have, or do you think it would be useful to have it be part of an energy committee meeting where,
I could use a primer on it.
Yeah.
And by thermal energy network, are we talking about, a bunch of houses in the neighborhood all on the same geothermal network, or is this the waste heat from big buildings being used by other buildings in downtown?
it's more the second at this point. Earlier, it was maybe a group of housings or something like that. But now waste heat makes a lot more sense to include waste heat. So instead of blowing the stuff out of the stacks at, maybe some of the downtown businesses like Bobcat or the laundromat or Covers, there's all this heat going away, and also buildings that need heat. So the idea is to look toward at some point, helping create these networks where heat can be captured and shared rather than thrown away, and using ground source heat pumps. And the timing again is, the best time is when streets are ripped up, if you're going to need to put pipes in, that kind of thing, to make it more cost effective. That's why having someone like VTUMS in the conversation at some point. So I mean, Debbie could come here and give a short intro or a longer intro if you want to the committee, and then we can invite a few other people who seem like they want to be here, or it could just be for the committee. And then whoever's interested can go and do meetings without the energy committee if the energy committee didn't want to be involved, to bring people together to really explore. Like in Middlebury, they started with a meeting for just the energy committee in Middlebury. And so everyone got to learn about it and get kind of solid on what's going on. And then a group in Middlebury became the working group for thermal energy networks. And that group meets on a regular basis. I went to one today to hear about what's going on in their group. So then it doesn't have to be the energy committee's job to keep doing it, but they at least are informed and they know, and what's going on.
Well, if you look at what our role is supposed to be, at least as I read it, we should be educated and be willing to make our recommendations to the select board.
Oh, right. Yeah.
So I think we need to be educated. I'm wondering if the planning commission should be invited too.
Yeah, I think for sure. Yeah, I think that's a really great idea.
Yeah.
I kind of like the idea of the energy committee and other members of the community all sitting at the table literally for this.
Yeah, I think that's important.
Uh-huh.
And it'll bring different questions, and that's
Yes.
going to be really important.
Right.
And I said Jared, who really knows about this stuff inside and out. He's been doing it for his career, and he's done a lot of work in it in the past 10 years in New York State and other states. So he could be here for questions too. So maybe we could go back to our original thing where we see if any planning commission people want to be at the meeting as well. And Jared, and we do a nice full, I don't know, full, but it could be a half an hour intro and Q&A or something like that.
Could they, do you think Debbie and Jared and anybody else could couch this in terms of specifically Bristol?
Yes.
In other
That's
words,
a good idea.
what my vision may not be the vision, but my vision is we've got this cluster of apartments, stores, restaurants, laundromat, and so on, grocery store. How could they all be linked together to reclaim energy and also to access geothermal energy? And so how would that look in Bristol?
Yeah,
Because I
I
think,
think that's a good way to do it, to start talking about Bristol.
yeah,
Although it's hard to talk about buildings when you haven't talked to the owners of those buildings, I think, you know,
I think conceptually you could say,
yeah,
this
for
is how it
example,
looks when who knows who's gonna wanna plug in.
right, so at least hypothetically, this is what could happen here, that kind of thing. These are different possibilities, or just so that people get an idea, so you're not talking about something that's happening in Indiana or something.
Of course, the one thing that's really problematic right now is getting the thermal energy network passed through the legislature.
Right, Yeah.
It looks like the only hope is for Chris Bray to attach it to the res.
yeah,
And the governor really came out against the res today. So I don't know what's gonna happen.
yeah. Well, if it doesn't happen, I think that it still will be brought up again, and it'll be
Mhm.
worked on again the following year. And in the meantime, it's gonna take us years to work on organizing any of this anyway.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
we're not ready to break ground, that's for sure,
I'll see.
for years, probably. And Ben, I hear you probably have some great brains in there about this kind of stuff, this pipes and water and all that stuff. You're an engineer yourself, so it'll
That's
be
true.
great to have you be there to hear some of this.
Oh yeah, I mean, I was at the Thermal Energy Networks presentation I think that Debbie gave in January. That was a Zoom. I was listening in on that. I found that to be very helpful. So something like that that's curated for Bristol, even if it's just like, here's a snapshot of downtown and here's what it could look like, even
Yeah,
something that cartoonish almost, like where it's
Yeah.
very high level, would still be
yeah,
super helpful for people to understand, just kind of get it in their heads, like what the actual concrete possibilities of this could be. So
yeah,
yeah, I think this is I would love to have a Bristol specific conversation or meeting or listen in for sure. Yeah, this would be
yeah.
really cool, I think.
Excellent. So are you guys okay for doing it like you said next month, it's the 17th, I guess, or whatever the date is?
Uh, I certainly am. Mhm.
Great.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't have to be our meeting night either. It could be a standalone presentation to the energy committee, the planning committee, and any select board members who want to attend.
Mhm.
Invite them to a 7 PM Zoom.
And why, okay. Um, we could do that, but we'd have to start with a whole new date, right? And make sure we can get everyone in. I guess that's a good idea.
We have,
What do you think about having Debbie come here and do a short one to get us? Well, it would be, I agree. I mean, it would be nice to have everyone together. Um,
I mean, I guess depending on what we have, what we think we would have on the April agenda,
yeah,
right? I mean, it's kind of like we can do a few quick hits, EV charger update, MERP update. Maybe we have the report by then, but we don't really have anything else to report out on necessarily. Like, I
Mhm.
still think if we've got bylaws, like we've reviewed the bylaws and maybe we talk about them then, or maybe they're not ready to be reviewed at that point. I still feel like it makes sense. We all commit to this meeting. It feels like this is the ideal opportunity. If we can get, Ian to come or maybe somebody else from the select board, like it feels like it makes sense to have it at an energy committee meeting. To me, that's just my
Yeah,
impression.
and
yeah, I think that's good too.
invite the planning committee as well
Yeah,
to our
Mhm.
meeting.
Mhm.
Does that make sense, Ben?
Yeah, that makes sense to me for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, we could kind of suspend our agenda, so we didn't bore people or do it at the end.
Right.
If there's anything pressing, there may not be.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I mean. Is like we could take a look at like where things stand with some of these other items that we're working on. And if it's a few quick hits after we do this 30-minute thing, that's fine. If we can kind of feel it out as it gets closer, I think.
I think
That
the
sounds,
EV charger situation is largely out of our hands now. It's really, Ian is really taking hold and, I'm continuing to set up stuff, but it's going to be select board making decisions at this point.
Jim,
Okay.
And Mark, the same thing, Mark will go into our subcommittee. And I'm sure we won't have anything ready for the next meeting.
No, I think a deep dive into thermal energy networks would be good for a meeting.
I
Yeah,
think Jim has a question.
Guys, just for your information, you're better off having it at your regular meeting. Otherwise, you come under the open meetings law, and you have to advertise it, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a good
There you
idea
go.
to keep it at your regular.
great point.
There you go. Jim,
Excellent.
once again,
Yep.
keeping it real. I love
Yep.
it.
Hey,
I love
somebody's
it.
got it,
Yeah,
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
keep us in the right track. That sounds great. So, we'll just jump on 7 and we'll start with that introduction. And do it and then have people come and listen and ask questions and then so maybe we will have Jared there because he's going to be able to answer some of the more technical things that some people might ask, I think. Well, actually, Ben probably can, actually, but
Fake it till I make it.
okay, well.
do you think you could get a Google Maps overview with just a potential layout of a connection? Something that would give people an idea of exactly what we're talking about.
It'll be connecting all the commercial properties.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, benefiting, the apartments and things upstairs.
I think that I'll ask Debbie if she can do that, get
Right.
something like that, or if Ian has something that, he's always taking pictures from the sky, so maybe he has some kind of thing that could be used and Debbie could put lines on it. I'm not really sure.
We did one for EV chargers. Ian did one using a Google map.
Okay,
So I think people who know how to do that
yeah,
know
all
how
right,
to do. I don't.
Yeah, no,
all right,
not my wheelhouse.
that's great.
It always helps to have a real tangible thing.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. Visuals.
that sounds great. Thank you. It'll be good to, as a town, hopefully if others want to join, to really talk about this stuff and
Well, we'll
be able to
we'll
dream
get
about it.
We'll get an idea of whether people are at all interested.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't need to go tilting windmills if nobody cares.
Right.
know.
Yep.
Great.
All right.
We went by let's see, where was it?
We're on this.
Oh, the proposal that I had.
I'm sorry. Did I not include it in the agenda?
I wonder. Oh, about the mini grant. So let me,
What item number is that?
That was under MERP, I think.
MERP, yeah, it was under MERP, the MERP community grant
Okay,
application.
so item number 6.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I beg
yeah,
your pardon.
yeah, we need to just know how people feel. So the mini grants are available up to $4,000, and the Regional Planning Commission is really kind of desperately trying to get people to take them, towns to take them. Because the money is really very, very flexible. And so based on what I've learned about that, we would potentially ask for $4,000 and allocate $2,000 to SEAC. Now, that might be something you want or not want to do. And $2,000 to the Bristol Energy Committee. And we would be asking the town to set up essentially a fund for us that would accrue and also go from year to year. I plan to look into the possibility of getting a annual appropriation from the town. The Conservation Commission has, I can't remember how much, I think $10,000 a year. And they've got at times $50,000 in the bank, but you know, they use it for land purchase and that kind of thing, conservation things. We wouldn't need that kind of money, but I think we might get to a point where we're gonna want to pay some consultants on some of these projects. And certainly, it'd be great to be able to bring in speakers and provide honoraria for them and traveling expenses and stuff like that. So,
Yeah, I think we ought to have a good conversation on that. I don't know, like, I think it's good to have some money, but I don't know. Does like the planning commission have an account to do that stuff with? And I don't know.
why would we want to have funds available to do our work?
Because none of us are getting paid. 'Cause we're all
We're-
volunteers.
We're
I
not
think-
getting, we're talking about bringing people from the outside,
Okay,
not
okay,
us, not
all right.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you know, on that button up event where we, have all kinds of people, refreshments, we gave away shop lights, all that was self-funded.
Yeah,
And there's no
okay.
reason
So
why we
that
should.
I agree, things like getting stuff to get people in the door so they can learn about stuff, and I think
Yeah.
that's important. But I don't feel like, like that time there was a lot of food for that event we went to, that was put on by the Addison County Regional Planning. And there's a ton of food there, and most of it wasn't eaten, so it just feels like I wouldn't want to be doing that, like bringing a bunch of food in and stuff like that. I think, people can bring their own food. I don't know,
I
I think
really
we should be
disagree.
careful. I think we should be really careful.
I think food greases the waist. You go to almost anything and there is food. Almost any kind of meeting or promotion, there's food.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it would take the burden off of us. But that's a minor part of it. The real part for me is, to be able to have the money for supplies, to put these things on, incentives for people, educational materials, and, to pay speakers to come, at times.
Jim?
Guys, you're getting a little carried away here. Anything you do as a volunteer commission, you have to go through the select board.
Yeah.
Any monies
obviously.
to be laid out for anything, you just gotta contact Valerie and she'll steer you in the right direction. But to have what you're suggesting is, I can see operating expenses for certain things. And any consulting work, we'll all have to go through the select board. So just for your information, keep it on a straight and narrow so you don't get in trouble.
Well, that's in our bylaws, that's specified. Anything that we do has to go through the select board. I don't know, maybe we don't want to do this. Maybe we just want to take our hands off.
I think that, if we wanted to ask the select board for something, I'd just start slow, and, we haven't really had to pay anyone to come yet, or, I don't know, I'd go slow with this. I think we should be careful, is all.
Okay. So we won't do that. Yeah.
I gotta go with Richard on this, resources as we look to become more active. It's not money that we have to spend, but it's there in case we need it. And I agree, Sally, we definitely should be careful. And I don't support overspending on anything like food or whatever. But it may help us to be more active in certain areas. And what those are, I don't know off the top of my head, but it could be there for us as a resource.
I think we should start with noticing when we think we need it and then going to the select board and asking for it and getting it. And then doing that for a while. And if we are finding that we have things that we need and we're asking and we're getting it, then maybe they'll be like, oh, well, why don't we just give you a thing for the year to cover those things? Instead of asking for money first and then trying to figure out how to spend it.
Okay, but this is a grant from the Regional Planning Commission. It's not from the Select Board.
Oh, a grant? Oh, that's great.
And it's also gives us the opportunity, if we had an account, to apply for other grants.
That sounds fine. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that these are grants,
Yeah.
not like asking for the select board to, and the townspeople to pay for us to do this stuff.
We have to
Not that-
propose this to the Select Board, but, you know, the money comes from the Regional Planning Commission. I guess the question is, do we want to send $2,000 to SEAC or not?
I do want to put it to a formal vote.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Or are we're still in discussion mode?
I don't, you know, I'm ambivalent on that. I share some of the same reservations about complexity right from the beginning with SEAC. I've watched and read their newsletters and so on. I'm not sure, given the fact that other navigators are coming out from Energy Action Network. Maddie Shropshire is working on one right now that we've been talking about in the Energy Committee. So I think knowing what SEAC is doing and potentially collaborating with them is one thing. If you are reluctant, if our members are reluctant to the $2,000, we could just say, we're not really ready to do that.
Do we want to take a little while, see if we get the grant, and then if we get the grant, we've had a month or two to think on it, and at that point decide if we want to give 2,000 to SEAC?
So I would take the 2,000 out, ask for the 4,000 for the Energy Committee's work.
I see, yeah.
Yeah, that gets,
It changes the grant, your
Yeah.
grant application, I understand, okay.
it'll probably be a communication with the Select Board too. I mean, they might have some ideas on it as well.
Mhm. So you talked about Energy Action Network and another organization, how long has SEAC been around for?
Oh, 5 years, Sally?
Yeah, I'd say about that.
Yeah.
Okay. So it sounds, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like there's maybe duplication of effort going on here. Because when you said navigators from Energy Action Network, and then SEAC's gonna have, I mean, wouldn't it be great instead of having, and you mentioned a third organization I didn't recognize, instead of having 3 teams,
Commission.
one big old team. Yeah, that.
I think,
Well, the interesting thing too, I've been in the meetings with Maddie and the Regional Planning Commission Energy Committee. And when you really get down to it, a lot of the numbers that are used for these things are squishy. And what the Regional Planning Commission is working on is that each town, each commission has been charged with figuring out what energy saving load each town in their county is going to have to share. And so we went through this thing of population, density, a bunch of other things, and basically have come up with something like, okay, here's the target for what Addison County is going to have to, the energy savings over the next, to 2030 to 2035 and so on. And Bristol is gonna have 10.2% of that. Okay, and then we said, well, I said, what are the sticks? You know, what happens if we don't? We're doing very well in some aspects of, for example, heat pumps. We're doing really well meeting targets with heat pumps. We're not doing very well at all with weatherization. Nobody's doing very well with electric vehicles, you know, meeting the targets. So what happens when we don't meet these targets?
Nothing.
Well, there really probably isn't anything. you know?
Yeah.
I mean, what are they gonna do?
It's like the IPCC.
I said, then what about carrots? Are they gonna give us some carrots?
Uh-huh.
And, you know, some of that is, yeah, it's the, you know, the rebates and incentives and stuff, so I don't know. I mean, if you really get down to it, it's us out here in the wilderness, trying to educate our people about things that might benefit them.
Mhm. So and help me to understand, it seems like, and I said there's, you know, there are 3 teams, maybe, Energy Action Network, SEAC, and the Regional Planning Commission. And does it come down to us deciding which team we want to join?
Well, the Energy Action Network is just a reference source.
Okay.
Okay, I mean, you can go on their website. And the Regional Planning Commission is state policy.
Yeah.
The targets that each town is supposed to meet.
Okay.
And so we're on that team whether we like it or not.
Okay.
I think what SEAC is trying to do, and Sally, you might have better perception, is they're trying to provide more salient information and methodology that we can use to approach our neighbors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think that's it, which is exactly what, you know, Matt and those guys, Efficiency Vermont, that was mainly what they were doing, is trying to give us ways to go and talk to our neighbors.
Right.
And
Okay.
so that's what this is. This is about going to our neighbors and saying, hey, you could save money and clean up your energy. And so they just have, this is a new process to do it,
Right.
you know, so,
Yeah, I don't know. And we still have Efficiency Vermont.
yeah,
Uh,
that's right. We still have Efficiency
yeah.
Vermont.
And we have Veep,
Yeah,
you know,
So-
the energy.
So, right, yeah.
So,
Yeah, but I see Veep is different from.
yeah,
SEAC, yeah.
but they're a resource.
Yeah, okay, got it. But okay, so it seemed to me like SEAC is the only one that is neighbor to neighbor, Bristolite to Bristolite, direct education here. Let me explain to you how the rebates work. Let me explain to you how the tax credits work. Here's why you should do your attic first, before heat pumps, you know, before anything else. Is SEAC the only game in town for that?
they're brand
Well-
new and they're figuring it out. They're
Uh-huh.
brand new doing this. They aren't people who are trained like you are, Carl. These are
Uh-huh.
just people like you, not like you, like me. And, you know, they're not experts. They're gonna talk to people and then they're going to end up having to get someone in, some contractor in to do a real assessment. So it's
Yeah.
gonna be the same thing we've been trying to do with Efficiency Vermont. But they're trying to stand up a bigger, more of us to go out and do that, you know, year round or something, rather
Yeah.
than just the Efficiency Vermont button up one time a year or something.
Yeah,
I think also they're trying to, at least originally, try to customize everything for Addison County.
Yeah.
But I'm hearing more now. Well, maybe we want to just take a wait and see on that.
Yeah,
Yeah. You're
Okay.
starting to convince me. Um,
I'm leaning towards SEAC because it seems like they're the ones that have the structure or developing the structure for neighbor to neighbor, in town, but also collaborating with other Asset County towns. And the Efficiency Vermont is the button-up program that's like a once a year type of thing, right? Yeah, I like the ongoing nature of the SEAC.
Mhm.
The continuous.
good point.
so is it, we suggest we give SEAC $2,000 as venture capital and,
I'm kind of saying, yeah,
it's,
that'd be my vote.
yeah, I mean, other towns are turning over the whole 4,000 to them. So.
Do you wish to put this to a vote?
Sure.
So out of the four of us, who's in favor of, if Richard wins the grant, 2,000 would go to SEAC, all in favor,
And 2,000 to us,
and 2,000 to
to
us,
the committee,
right, and kept in escrow, whatever the term is.
yeah, an agency account.
Agency account, there we go, yeah. Who's in favor of that? I am,
I guess I'd go with it now.
Right.
Thanks for really talking it out with me. That helped.
Oh, good discussion.
Yeah,
It clarified stuff for me, no doubt. Okay, cool, thanks for your.
I still disagree with you, Sally, on the food. But we can talk about it.
You can get a lot with, you get a lot of food for $2,000, so maybe we'll see how long it takes us to go through that half a grant, and then we can assess.
All right, okay, I'm glad that you brought us back to that, and I'm sorry that
Okay.
we missed that
Thanks.
first go around. Okay, anything else tonight?
I think we've done it.
I have one
Go
minor
on.
thing, one very minor thing. I noticed, because I was talking about how I was looking on the town website, the Bristol Energy Committee, like actual website on the town website. All the agendas are posted, but my meeting notes aren't on the town website. I don't know, maybe I'm just firing them off into the void and thinking that they'll get there somehow, but I don't know, like, who should I send them to? Should I copy Val? Should I copy Sharon? I just want to make sure they're getting posted
Yeah.
somewhere so that the public knows that they exist.
Yes,
I'd say
Great.
Sharon.
yeah, I would
I
say
used-
Sharon,
Sharon, okay,
That's who I used to send them to.
okay.
yeah.
Okay, I get the thumbs up from Jim, so I know I'm doing, that's the
Yeah.
process. Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right. I will.
That trumps us all.
Yeah, we're good now. I don't need to, yeah, that's it.
Jim has 4 votes.
All right, so I will do that going forward. So yeah, that was my only minor thing I had. Thanks.
That's too bad because yours such good notes. They ought to be out there in the world.
I'll say.
Yeah, no doubt. Works of
Fantastic
art.
notes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
All right.
maybe send the whole volume out
I
there.
got a lot of them.
Okay.
I'll look at what's on the, I'll look at the agendas that are on the website because I don't think they're all posted there. I'll just, the
Okay.
ones that I can see, I will I'll send all the notes, and then going forward I will include Sharon on all of them. So
It's great. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Ben,
thank you, my
for doing
friends.
that all these months.
Yeah,
I thought we were gonna be here till 9.
good crew.
We're made 8:30.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not bad.
That's good.
Not bad at all. All right. See you
thanks
all in a month.
everybody. I will
All right,
send the
good night,
meeting
everyone.
notes out soon. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you, Ben.